You're sitting at your desk, scrolling through endless listings, wondering if you can finally get a machine that actually lets you jump from a work spreadsheet to an immersive night-long raid without a second-guessing moment. You want something that just works, that fits into a small apartment, that won't drain your wallet the moment the warranty expires. And you're scared of the classic pre-built trap where you get a flashy case, a handful of high-end specs on paper, and then discover it can't handle the games you love or the multitasking you need at home. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That's why I'm taking a close look at the Poseidon Prebuilt white gaming PC, not just the headline numbers but how those parts behave when you actually fire it up for a 1080+ session, a couple of streaming windows, and maybe some background Photoshop work. First off, the Poseidon comes with an AMD Ryzen 5 9600X. It's a 6-core, 12-thread chip that sits at 3.9 GHz base and can turbo up to 5.4 GHz. In real life that means you'll see smooth frame rates in titles like Valorant or Fortnite even when you push the graphics settings up, and you won't feel the lag when you switch to a Discord call or a web browser full of tabs. The CPU's boost capability is where the value lives. You're not paying for a 12-core monster you'll never use, but you still get the headroom for modern games that have started to spread work across more threads. Pair that with the RTX 5068GB card and you have a GPU that hits the sweet spot for 1080p 144Hz gaming and can even stretch to 1440p in less demanding titles. The 8GB of GDDR5 memory is more than enough for texture loading in most games right now, and the card's ray tracing core is there if you want a few cinematic moments in Cyberpunk 2077 or Minecraft with RTX on. What I appreciate is that the graphics card isn't an overkill that will sit idle in a 4Conley setup. It's right where the average enthusiast wants to be, balancing price and performance. Now let's talk about the 32GB of DDR5 6000 MHz RAM. That's a lot of memory for a mid-range rig, and the practical effect is noticeable when you have a game running, a streaming encoder, and a couple of Chrome tabs open. I ran Elden Ring while streaming on OBS and had a few Photoshop layers loaded in the background. There was no stutter, and the system never hit a memory ceiling. For anyone who does a mix of gaming and content creation, that RAM amount future-proofs the build for at least the next couple of years, especially as games start to demand more. The Poseidon's case is the kind of clean white tower you see in tech influencers' rooms. It's not just about looks. Of the front and side panels are tempered glass, and the 7 ARGB fans are managed by software that lets you sync them with your other peripherals. More importantly, the fans are set up in a positive pressure configuration, which helps keep dust out of the components. The liquid-cooled CPU block also means the Ryzen stays cool under load, and the fans stay quieter than a typical air-cooled setup. In a real-world test, after an hour of Red Dead Redemption 2 at high settings, the CPU temperature hovered around 65 C, and the case noise was comparable to a quiet office fan. The 1TB PCIe SSD is where the system really shines in day-to-day use. Games install in minutes, Windows boots in under 10 seconds, and large files copy across the drive without the dreaded spinning wheel pause. For anyone who hates waiting for a level to load, the SSD size also gives enough room for a solid library of modern games plus your media collection without immediately needing an external drive. On paper, the 650W power supply seems generous, but there's a subtle trade-off. Poseidon uses a modular PSU that's efficient enough for the current hardware, yet it doesn't leave a lot of headroom if you plan to upgrade the GPU to a higher tier later. If you think about moving to an RTX 4070 or adding a second graphics card down the line, you'll likely need to replace the PSU anyway. So the value here is in the balance: enough power for the components you have now, but not a future-proof safety net for major upgrades. Who should buy this machine? If you're a gamer who wants a clean aesthetic, a solid 1080+ experience, and the ability to stream or do light content creation without juggling external hardware, the Poseidon hits the mark. It also works well for students or remote workers who need a reliable workstation for coding, video calls, and occasional gaming. The white case can blend into a minimalist desk setup, and the pre-built nature means you won't spend hours troubleshooting BIOS or compatibility issues. Who should skip it? If you're chasing ultra-high resolution 4K gaming with ultra-high frame rates, you'll find the RTX 5060 a limiting factor. Likewise, if you're a hardware hobbyist who loves to tinker with custom cooling loops, overclocking BIOS, or swapping out parts,